Hello and welcome back to the channel. The good news is it's you, the channel that focuses on you, your life, you being the main character, making decisions to make sure that you are on the life you want to live. As you may have noticed, I am not alone today. This is Noah, my husband. And since today's episode is a healthy relationship quiz, we thought it would be perfect if I brought him on because I do find that we have a very healthy and loving relationship, and we've talked a lot about these particular questions, and I wanted to share them with you and have him help me out with that. So this quiz is about finding the good in your relationship. It's going to be a gauge to determine, yes, I am in a healthy relationship, and if you're going through the questions and you can't answer yes to any or even most of these questions, it might be time to start looking at some changes that need to be made, maybe some counseling, those kind of things. So that being said, I just want to do a little teaser. Up next, we're also going to be doing a second quiz about some warning signs, kind of an unhealthy quiz, and those are the ones that are those red flags, probably going to need immediate attention, even for physical safety. So those a little bit two different quiz we decided to separate into two. So you don't have to listen to me just talk. I am gonna actually let Noah do the first question here. And as we go along, I just want to make sure that everyone is remembering to always ask yourself the flip side of this question. So if the question is your partner doing this? Stop and say, am I doing this? Because remember, there's always two people in a relationship, sometimes more, depending on, your preferences. But you are going to create that relationship as well. So this isn't just what are they doing right or wrong? We're there too. So with no further ado, my husband Noah.
All right. So the first question would be, do they treat you as an equal? And it's a little more complicated than maybe it seems on the surface. Very often partners have different levels of educational achievement or financial or professional achievement. And, if there is a disparity, do they still treat you as an equal? Do they not lord their degree over you or their income over you? Are you still well considered, in all the different day-to-day decision making and whatnot?
Absolutely. Okay, so the next question is going to be, do they respect your privacy? So this can be a lot of different areas. It might be kind of the number one thing that comes to mind when you say privacy is, well, probably one of two things, either the bathroom or your phone, right? So everyone has their own degree of what they feel comfortable with as far as keeping the bathroom door open or closed. Everyone be on the same page, right? But like that is a level of privacy. But we're also talking about here is, do they allow you to be your own individual? Are they always wanting to look for your phone? Do they trust that you're doing appropriate things on that phone? And by appropriate, I mean, are you hiding an online gambling addiction or possibly on dating sites, that kind of thing? So do they respect your privacy? If they don't, that's going to show that they don't trust you. And then that question gets raised as to why. So if they do respect your privacy, then that's showing that level of trust. And also online accounts, I think, is important too. Might share passwords for certain things, but do they leave you alone and let you kind of live your adult life?
For sure. Next one would be, do they project carry over trauma from past relationships? Especially important in more adult, mature relationships where you've had multiple past partners and obviously things didn't work out with them because now you're with this other person. And, it's not fair to hold somebody else, your new partner, responsible for the things that somebody else might have done to you in the past. And so that's a thing to really carefully consider. There's a fine line between informing somebody about your past experience and how you process and deal with that, and actually like trying to hold them responsible for things they didn't have any part of.
Absolutely. That's a really good one. And the next one is going to be, do they encourage you to be who you are? And there might be a couple of caveats there if you're a serial killer, hoping that they're not encouraging you to do that. I mean, maybe you're a cat lover. We kid. But, maybe you come into the relationship as someone who loves science fiction. Maybe you're a girly girl who loves shoes. Maybe, you love to dance, you love to sing, you watch soap operas, you watch anything that maybe they don't like. Maybe they're a big sports fan, you are. Do they encourage you to do those things that you're passionate about and even include themselves in those passions for you? So it's not something that they're kind of tolerating, but rather something that they actually love about you, even if it's not a passion or an interest that they share.
Oh yeah, that was one of the first things that really struck me about you when we went on our very first date. Yeah, you remember.
I do.
And when we were saying our goodbyes, I kind of, with great trepidation, let her know that I was leaving our date and heading out to meet some of my nerdy friends to play some Dungeons and Dragons. And go ahead and judge me; it's fine. And yeah, she was really cool with it, and
it was adorable.
Still supports me meeting up with my buddies regularly to indulge in our nerdy habit. And I mean, that's one of the things that really helped me fall in love with you.
Yes, the next one is yours.
Next one. Can they admit mistakes and actually apologize? And that's kind of like the real key there, right? Because it's not super uncommon for people to throw their hand up and, oh, my bad, et cetera, et cetera. But very often when they do that, they'll caveat it with some sort of excuse or some sort of reason why you were responsible for what they did or how they felt or how they reacted or whatever. And that's not an actual apology, right? They're trying to blame shift and all that kind of stuff. So you want a partner that not only will raise their hand and call a foul when it's a foul, but also will not try to shirk any of that responsibility onto you, but will take it wholly onto themselves.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other things I have noticed about apologies made, just in general in life, is when someone says, "I'm sorry you feel that way." That's not really a genuine apology. That's taking, again, responsibility out of it. Like, my actions aren't what made this occur. It's your reaction to it, even though they were the cause of that. So, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm dating myself, and you guys know with Joey. I'm sorry you feel that way is not an actual apology. So.
Yeah.
Okay. And the next one is going to be, is your partner willing to spend time with your family and friends? So, and that, there's actually a couple of little sub-questions to ask yourself in this one, and it's, what does it look like when they actually do spend time with them? So if they come over to like a family function and they're just on their phone the whole time, or they're sitting outside by themselves, they're just, into the sports game when nobody else is, or are they okay with you spending time with them alone? So say they've got something important going on, are they okay, you go ahead and go, that's fine, or do they make you feel guilty about it? When they do go out with you, this is kind of like B or C of question 6. There's a lot of parts to this one, just a lot of different facets to kind of ask yourself about this one, is when they are in public with you, or maybe in, home, somebody else's home, but public, or even if just your friends are at your house. I guess I wouldn't consider that public. Anyway, I'm on a tangent. The question is, how do they treat you in those situations? Are they very respectful to you? Are they kind? Are they loving? Or are they kind of like teasing you, putting you down, and maybe embarrassing you? Like, oh, sorry, we were late. This one had to, take 20 minutes doing her hair, telling embarrassing stories. So how they treat you in front of others is also a very good indicator of a healthy relationship, if they're kind and respectful, loving, engaged, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and kind of related to that would be our next one, which is, in a healthy relationship, you should never have to make excuses for your partner, right? And particularly as to how they treat you. You should never have to utter the words, "Oh, well, he just has a temper," or, anything like that. It should be somebody that you can be, enthusiastically proud of all the time, right?
Yeah. And if there is something that maybe you're not 100% proud of, don't bring it up, right? I mean...
Some things are best kept private.
Well, that sounds suspicious.
Oh my.
Okay. Yeah, I had a couple other notes on this one because I said I think it really is an important one because a lot of times our relationships issues can come to light in when other people are present. People are different when they're alone. So if you're out with a friend, just the two of you, say having a girls' night, boys' night, whatever that looks like, are they checking up on you constantly? Are they texting you? And not in like a maybe a sweet supportive way, but in a, like, what are you eating, what are they doing, what did she say, what time will you be home? So it kind of seems like maybe they're trying to verify that you're there because there's a lack of trust or there's a level of control they're trying to have over your life. That's not necessarily indicative of a healthy relationship, and something we might touch on also in the unhealthy relationship because all of this stuff is so intertwined. Is this one mine?
I think it is.
Okay. I believe this is number 8, but our questions might be out of order. I'm going to put them across the top so that you can kind of write them down as you go, but feel free to circle back if we're going a little too fast. The next one is going to be, do they comfort you when you're mad, when you're sad, frustrated, upset, when you're sick? And that's going to look different for everyone. Everyone kind of has their own love language, as they call it. Everyone needs something different.
Sure.
Some people want to be kind of coddled and cared for when they're sick or upset, and some people just, I need to be alone. And your partner understanding that that doesn't mean that they're necessarily upset with you, but that's how you're going to handle those emotions or feelings that you're having. So them knowing how you need to be comforted in all of those given situations is important too. So that's not something that you should expect your partner to know on date 1, 2, 3, a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
That's something they're going to learn over time. And again, I want to do almost a whole episode probably on setting expectations because that trips a lot of people up in relationships that I've seen in that someone creates a very vivid expectation in their mind of what something will look like, which is never expressed or shared with that partner. And then when that partner fails to follow through on said kind of made up expectation, the other person gets upset. So if I'm the kind of person when I'm sick, I want you to bring me hot soup, and even if there's nothing you can do, just, do you need anything? But I have to make sure he knows that that's what I need. And if I'm just very uncomfortable and just want to be left alone, I just need a little bit of time alone. Like, set that expectation, but does your partner give that to you? Is kind of the whole question here. Do they comfort you? Do they give you what you need when you're having a rough day at work? And like I said, it takes a little bit of time to learn what your partner needs. But are you giving it to them? Are they giving it to you?
Yeah, supporting each other.
Yeah.
Right? Pretty.
I guess I could have summed it up in supporting each other.
Well, I mean,
episode over.
There's a lot more to it than that. So moving right along, another one that seems like common sense, but maybe we can get in the weeds with it. Is do they have the same goals and values, right? And it's this one isn't a you have to be dating a carbon copy of yourself. You have to be perfectly aligned on every single thing. But when it comes to the big things, when it comes to, like where you want to live, how you want to raise your children, if you even want to have children at all, those things you should be pretty closely aligned on. Because those are things that, especially over time, are going to cause conflict, and the kind of conflict that's really difficult to navigate. So you want to kind of mitigate as much of that as you can, minimize as much of that as you can, by having a partner that shares those similar goals and values.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of hard sometimes in those initial honeymoon stage of a relationship to ignore those bigger things. Like maybe, first date talking about do you want kids, getting married is probably pretty heavy. But if you're getting into a relationship and thinking, wow, I like this person, I think this can go the distance or whatever you want that to look like.
Steady.
Yes, you're going to go steady.
Yes, have a steady.
We're old. Starting to have those conversations is, do you want to have kids? Because I don't want to get a year in and then now my heart is completely broken because I'm so invested in this relationship when I knew early on that was going to be a deal breaker. So just something to consider to kind of save everyone some heartbreak and have those conversations early. Okay, next one is mine. Are they a cat person? We keep joking about this. We love cats.
We love all critters.
Yes. We would have more, but our dogs would eat them. So
Yeah.
Okay. But that being said, do you have shared interest? One of our huge shared interests is our dogs, our animals, just the love of all things, you know, sending each other silly videos on Instagram or whatever all day long. So yeah, I mean, if you have absolutely nothing in common, it's going to be difficult to want to spend time together. If one person wants to kind of travel a lot and the other person has no interest, they just want to stay at home. That works for some people. Some people kind of are okay when they're alone at home together and then they kind of live separate lives outside of the house. If that's what you want your relationship to look like, that's great. But having shared interests is something that is going to keep the relationship healthy and new and also reduce conflict, right? Because then you don't have to constantly maybe make those compromises or arguments about what we're going to do, what we're going to spend our money on and our time on and those kind of things. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to reduce conflict. It's going to give you more time to spend together. And I mean, that is kind of like the foundational thing of a relationship, right, is shared time together. So yeah, I mean, if you have some shared interests, that's definitely going to help build a much stronger, more resilient relationship. Next one, it's kind of taken another turn here, is you know, are you able to maintain your own identity even within the relationship? You know, and this is really kind of a warning against like codependency and that sort of thing, right? You want to be able to still have your own me time, you know, things that you do on your own that don't have to include your partner. Yeah, we've all known that person that they start dating somebody new and they become like an entirely different person, right? And they just do all of the things that their new partner does.
I'm a base jumper now.
Yeah, and then they, you know, and it doesn't work out, and then they date somebody else, and now they're a cowboy or whatever, right? So, like, you know, if they can, or you want to be able to maintain your identity when you're in a relationship, you know, ultimately that is for the best, right?
Yeah, so those kind of, I feel like we contradicted ourselves, but they are two different things, right? Like having shared interest, but not becoming one person who just does everything together.
Yeah.
Like you can exist outside of that person
Yeah.
because if that relationship were to end for, you know, a myriad of reasons, do you still exist as a person on your own? Do you still have an identity? Or like you said, was it wrapped up in what they did? So just making sure that you're still you're not giving up who you are to be in that relationship.
Yeah.
And then, okay, we are coming up to the end, just one or two more here. Last one is, does your partner ask for and respect your opinion? So this one is super important because it goes almost back to the very first question of, do they treat you as an equal? Because if they don't see you as an equal or they don't respect you, then they're not going to ask for your opinion because they just don't care. It doesn't matter. It's not going to factor into their decision making. But, you know, I'm thinking about taking this promotion at work. That's going to cause me to have to work more hours. Or I think we should sell the house to do this. But they're not even really sitting down and having that conversation with you, even mentioning it to you until, you know, one day there you come home and there's a for sale sign in your front yard. Obviously, this is an extreme example. But you can kind of get a sense that your partner wants to involve you in their decision making, and that affects the choices that they make because it's going to affect you if they consider you an equal and a part of that relationship.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it feels good to be considered and it feels good to be validated, and you know, if somebody does that for you by considering your opinions and all those things, then I mean, that's just going to build a stronger, more intimate, more resilient relationship.
Absolutely.
The last one, and it seems pretty obvious, but you know, not all these things are obvious to all people, right?
Yeah. Yeah, everyone has a different experience. So
That's
that's
right.
why I shy away from saying this should be obvious, because there are some things that in my life I've been like, that should have been obvious, but it wasn't to me. So, you know, just everyone's living a very different experience.
Yeah, for sure. And just, you know, the last one is honesty. And, you know, can you be honest in your relationship with your partner? And obviously, you know, being able to do that is a sign of a good, strong, healthy relationship, where you are free to engage in that relationship wholly as your entire whole self, and know that you'll be loved and supported and you won't be judged.
Right. Now, avoid the traps. Do I look fat in this dress? Because you don't want to make your partner lie to you. Okay.
The answer is always they look great.
That's why I married this one. Well, thank you guys for sticking to the end. I think there were about 13, 14 questions. So go back, listen to them again, write them down. I will be working on creating maybe a PDF that you can download to print out and do with your partner too. And then if you had fun doing this one, please watch the next episode, which I mentioned is going to be on the unhealthy quiz, some warning signs. A little less fun, but super, super important when we're getting back into that realm of the safety of your well-being, possibly even self-defense, depending on how unhealthy your relationship is and how big of warning signs or red flags you find when you complete this quiz. And but really important to do, and if you get through that quiz and you can answer kind of no to all of them, you know that you're rocking it. Go out and share what you're doing correctly in your relationship with your friends and family. These are just the first set of questions that we came up with that we thought were good. We may even do like kind of a second follow-up quiz, but if you have any that maybe someone told you, or even like a counselor did, or your parents who have a great relationship, whatever that looks like, throw it in the comments, because the more questions we can ask ourselves and share, then the more everyone has these healthy relationships with just as a whole helps the community and society. So as always, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell us what you liked. If you hated it, sorry. Thanks for watching.
Pretty much.
And thank you to Noah for coming on with me. I really appreciate it, and you'll probably be seeing, well, you'll definitely be seeing him in the next episode, but hopefully in some more as well. All right, thank you.